Hey, I get it. Standing in front of a laptop aisle or scrolling endless pages online, you're thinking, I don't want to waste money on something that won't actually meet my needs. The last thing you want is a machine that looks great on paper but lets you down when you fire it up for a night of gaming, a class project, or even just streaming your favorite shows. If you're wondering whether the HP Victus 15.6 with a Ryzen 5 8645HS and RTX 4050 is the right fit for you, stick around. This isn't a generic specs dump, it's a look at what the laptop actually does for real people. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about who this laptop is really built for. If you're a casual gamer who plays titles like Fortnite, Valorant, or even something a bit heavier like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, you'll find the RTX 4050 a solid step up from the entry-level cards you see in many budget notebooks. The 144Hz FHD panel also means smoother motion, which you'll notice immediately in fast-paced shooters. No more gritty blur when you're trying to land that headshot. On the other hand, if you're an aspiring AA title enthusiast who expects to run Cyberpunk 2077 at ultra settings, or a professional content creator who needs raw GPU horsepower for 4K video rendering, you'll start to feel the ceiling. The 4050 is a mid-range GPU, so it'll hold its own at 1080p high settings, but it won't keep pace with the newer 40 series flagship cards. Now, let's break down the day-to-day experience. The Ryzen 5 8645HS is a 6-core, 12-thread beast with a 4.3 GHz boost clock. In practical terms, that means you can have a handful of browser tabs open, a music streaming app playing, and a game running without the system hiccuping. I've used a similar 8645HS chip to run Photoshop, Lightroom, and a Zoom call simultaneously, and the laptop stayed responsive. The 16GB of DDR5 RAM is another hidden gem. DDR5's higher bandwidth really shines when you're swapping large textures in a game or juggling multiple heavy applications. For most users, that amount of fast RAM eliminates the stuttering you sometimes see on older 8GB or even 16GB DDR4 setups. Storage is another spot where the Victus leans into value. A 1TB NVMe SSD means you won't be crawling while loading worlds or installing games. Games that traditionally take a minute or two to load now appear in under 30 seconds, and you have plenty of room for a growing library without having to constantly prune. The downside? The drive is not user replaceable without opening the chassis, which isn't a problem for most, but if you like to upgrade your storage yourself, you'll need to be comfortable with a bit of disassembly. Heat and noise are real concerns for gaming laptops, and this is where the Victus shows a mixed picture. The chassis is a fairly typical plastic-rich design, which keeps the weight down nice if you plan to carry it to a coffee shop or a friend's house, but it also means heat can build up under heavy load. In extended gaming sessions, say a 3-hour marathon of Elden Ring, the fans spin up noticeably, and you'll hear a constant whirring that can be a bit distracting. That said, the fans do an adequate job of keeping temperatures in the 80°C range, which is acceptable for the hardware but not silent. If you need a quiet workspace for studying or video calls, you might want to consider using a cooling pad or tweaking the fan curve in HP's Omen Command Center. Battery life is another practical factor that often gets overlooked in gaming laptop reviews. With a 3-cell 52Wh battery, you'll see about 4 to 5 hours of mixed use. Think browsing, a bit of streaming, maybe a light indie game before you need to plug in. Push it with a demanding title, and you'll drop to under 2 hours. In short, this is not a laptop you'll rely on for day-long work sessions away from an outlet. It's built to be plugged in for most gaming and creative workloads. Port selection on the Victus is fairly generous for a 15.6-inch machine. 2 super-speed USB-A ports let you connect a mouse, an external drive, or a headset without needing adapters. The single USB-C port supports both data and power delivery, which is handy if you want to daisy-chain a monitor or use a modern external SSD. HDMI lets you hook up to a TV or a larger monitor for that couch gaming vibe. The only missing piece is a dedicated Ethernet port. If a wired connection is a priority for you, you'll need a USB-C to RJ45 dongle, which is an extra expense but not a deal-breaker. Keyboard and ergonomics deserve a quick mention because they affect how you actually use the laptop. The Backlit keyboard has a decent travel distance, and the lighting is 3-zone RGB, so you can set a subtle glow for late-night sessions. However, the keycaps are on the smaller side, which might feel cramped if you have larger hands. The trackpad is accurate.